Am I the jerk for avoiding my neighbors? I have had life experiences that leave my judgment on social interactions skewed, so I do not really know if I am in the wrong here. I, a 40-year-old woman, live in a low-income area. Even before the current economic struggles in the United States, I had neighbors who act like total beggars. Some people are constant borrowers and some are the ones who always get asked for favors. I have fallen into the latter category. I do not mind occasionally helping out when I can, but they make it more than occasional, or they ask me to do things that highly inconvenience me. For example, a 41-year-old woman gets an allowance from her grandparents for food. Instead, she buys useless stuff, then goes to all the food pantries. One time, she asked me to take her to one. It was early on a Saturday, and I needed that day to catch up on sleep. I said no 3 different ways before she went off, went into her apartment for a second, then stood on her porch crying for me to hear. Another time, it was pouring rain, and she wanted a ride to the convenience store. I told her I do not drive in that kind of weather if I do not have to, and she got mad. There is also a 51-year-old woman who seems to need something every day. Usually she is good about giving things back, but she forgot recently. It is no big deal money-wise, but she is still asking for stuff. I believe she knocked on my door earlier. I ignored it. I also ignored a call from her last night. I guess I am just fed up because I have my limitations too. Budget, health, time, but I make a plan to be prepared. I get irritated that others do not do the same. It makes me end up isolating myself to avoid being treated like I am Uber or a store. I am making sacrifices to get by, and do not feel like I have to sacrifice for my whole neighborhood when I see them blowing their budgets. Am I the asshole for ignoring these people, or is it okay? If I try to say anything about excessive borrowing, they always get defensive, so I feel like if I cannot make it stop, I have to hide out. You are not in the wrong here. Givers have to set limits because takers never will. Never feel guilty for healthy boundaries, and don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. If someone refuses to respect your no, feel free to ignore them and focus on your own well-being. Am I the jerk for moving out of my mom's house? I am a 22-year-old female who wanted to move out of my mother's house for years now. I just graduated college and have already started a career making $50,000 along with a restaurant job on the weekends. I am not too concerned about the affordability aspect as I will have 2 roommates. All 3 of us have wanted to live together since freshman year of college but haven't gotten the chance because of COVID. So I stayed home and worked through college to save money. Here's where it gets complicated. My mother has known I have wanted to move out for years now and has even helped me when I was thinking of moving a few years ago. However, my mom and dad are divorced, and it was quite messy. My dad was abusive, especially to my mom, and made the divorce hell. He would not pay for anything he did not legally have to when he knew we could not afford anything. She is relying on his child support to pay for the house they bought together. My understanding of this agreement and what my mom has been telling me for years is that the child support stops when my brother and I graduate college. My brother is set to graduate next year. When I brought up leaving, she then said that he would pay for the house for 4 more years as long as my brother and I stay home, but he is a notorious liar and narcissist. Living with just my mom is difficult. She is paranoid, always super negative, treats me way worse than my brother, and we have a terrible relationship that I do not see getting any better. She blames all of the problems we have on me and will not take accountability for anything she has done. She talks to my family about me and tells me that they tell her how horrible they think I am to her. Talking to her is impossible as she will not let me get a word in, and she is completely unreasonable. We have tried therapy together, but my mom was extremely uncooperative with the therapist and would have literal meltdowns during our sessions and walk away whenever the therapist gave her any sort of criticism or suggested that she might have been wrong. Living with my mother takes a huge toll on my happiness and confidence and makes me extremely anxious and uncomfortable. Moving out means there might be a chance that they could lose their house if my dad finds out, though no one speaks to him, so I do not anticipate that becoming a reality. My brother would have to help pay. My brother and mom both are calling me selfish and an asshole if I move, but I just can't stand living here anymore. I am depressed, anxious, and my commute to work from here is well over an hour every day. Am I the asshole for wanting to move out? You are not in the wrong here. So you're just supposed to tolerate her attitude and live with her forever? You don't need so many justifications to state the obvious. You're an adult, you want and can afford to live independently, and you need to get out for your own mental health. Stop discussing it with them and just give them a date you are leaving. If she can't afford the house, she can downsize like a rational person. Am I the jerk for not inviting my parent to my graduation, even if my other parent wants me to? For my college graduation, I initially invited my mother, sister, and close friends. There is a limited number of tickets, and each attendee must have a ticket to enter. I was close with my father as a child, but we started arguing more as I grew into a teenager. When I was in high school, we completely stopped talking to each other. Now, we ignore each other. My father is emotionally uninvolved in my life, and the only thing he does now is occasionally hand cash to my sister to give to me. He will not directly give it to me himself. Due to our relationship, I did not plan on inviting my father. Later, I received a call from my mother telling me how my father, who lives with us but I have not spoken to in about 5 years, wants to attend my graduation. She plans to take him and my sister to see me. I told her that I already invited my friends and do not have a ticket reserved for him, nor do I want him to go. My mother was appalled that I had prioritized my friends over our family and told me all the things my father did to raise me when I was a child. She said I should forgive him and that his wanting to come to my graduation is his effort to reconcile. She said my graduation is a chance to mend our family. However, I told her that I still feel uncomfortable with my father suddenly trying to come back when he had all the previous years to try. My mother does not understand and has been crying. She tells me that the reason my father and I do not get along is that we do not know how to forgive. She told me she has forgiven him after their divorce but stayed together so the children could see both parents in one household. She said I should learn to forgive him for the sake of mending our family. She tells me that I am the one causing the issue since my father is trying to see me graduate. I told my mother that I was not going to extend an invitation to my father and asked her if she would still come to my graduation. My mother said, "I do not know," and hung up on me. Am I the antagonist? You are not in the wrong here. Judging by your mother's reaction, it was definitely not her idea to get divorced and stay in the same house. And now she's deflecting her own emotions and placing the blame she feels within herself on you. It sounds like what your mother is trying to say is that you should sweep it under the rug, but forgiveness typically requires the person to try and make amends, which your father hasn't done. Your graduation, your choice. Am I the jerk for asking my cousin to wear clothes around the house? I was removed from my parents' house by social services last week because my mother is too depressed to leave her bed. I was first placed in a group home for foster children, though I don't think I'm a foster child because my mother is still caring for me. She is just going through something at the moment. I personally think I would have been fine staying at home because I am very mature for my age, as everyone tells me. However, my grandfather reported my mother to social services, which is why I was removed. After being at the group home for a few days, my uncle finally got permission to take me in for a while until my mother is better. I don't know my uncle that well. He is my father's brother, and since my father died, I haven't really had much contact with his side of the family. My uncle lives with his 2 sons who are 11 years old, named Oliver, and 9 years old, named Jamie. I have had to start sharing a room with Oliver, and Jamie shares a room with my uncle since there are only 2 bedrooms in the house. I hate this because at my proper house, I have my own room and I just don't understand why I can't stay there. I have had to be removed from school because my uncle lives so far away, and they're not able to get a place for me until September. This means I am just sitting at home doing nothing all the time. I just hate it here. When we're home, Oliver never wears clothes. Sometimes Jamie doesn't either, but he usually wears underwear. The second Oliver gets home from school, he just strips completely. It makes me feel so uncomfortable and weird because why does he feel he can expose me to that? I don't like seeing it, and it is just weird. I mentioned this to my uncle, and he basically told me to deal with it and that this was Oliver's house first. I told him that I think it's weird and it makes me feel uncomfortable. He doesn't understand how much of a change this has been for me. I don't even want to be here, and it's so weird that Oliver just won't wear underwear at least. It's not like it's a big deal. I don't want to see him undressed all the time, especially when I invited my friend Max over. Max felt so uncomfortable that he left early when he was meant to stay for the entire day. I am not allowed to go over to his house, which just makes it worse because now it's ruining my friendships. You are not in the wrong here. It sounds like you don't know your uncle that well, and this isn't right for you. Bring this up with the social worker and see if you can get more support from your grandpa, who seems to be advocating for you. You should also consider calling Childline for confidential advice, and possibly an independent advocate. Am I the jerk for not being grateful for my birthday surprise? I have been crying for hours yesterday and today, receiving texts on how I am ungrateful. This just doesn't make sense to me. I am trying to see the good intentions, but call me blind because I don't see any. I have never had a birthday party or dinner, and it is something that I have always wanted, but I don't know why I always thought it was unattainable in my adult life. I was talking to my friend and telling her how my family never celebrates birthdays because my father is really religious, and how I always feel lonely on my birthday. She asked me why I didn't celebrate my birthday now that I am an adult, and I thought, yeah, why don't I celebrate myself now that I am grown? I planned a birthday dinner at a fancy restaurant and told everyone that as long as they kept their order under $35, I would pay for it. So I made sure to work overtime for 3 months in advance because I heard there is always a fight about the bill, so I didn't want that to be a reason for conflict on my birthday. I invited 12 people who said they would come, family and friends, including my mom now that my dad is dead. She is no longer super religious for some reason. Yesterday I had my nails, makeup, and hair done professionally. I just wanted to look really nice, and I have actually only been to formal events about 3 times in my life, so I was happy to be able to dress up nicely for once. I got to my dinner, sat at my table, and waited 2 hours. I kept getting calls from people, telling me they were running late or not being able to come anymore. After 2 hours, everyone finally told me they were not coming. They didn't tell me before the dinner. They were all informing me at the time of the reservation or later. The waiter felt so bad because I was crying while I was on the phone with someone I considered to be my friend, telling me she wasn't coming. Even though I didn't order a meal, he gave me a free birthday slice. I didn't even get any pictures in my outfit because I thought someone would help take them for me at the restaurant, and by the time I left the restaurant, my makeup was ruined. My mom called me on my way home and asked me to stop at her house because she had a present for me. She said she was sorry she didn't come, but she was feeling extremely unwell, and she wanted to at least have a present for me. I went to her house and opened the door to a surprise. People saw that my face was messed up because I had been crying, so someone said, "Oh, she thought we forgot her." I looked at the 12 people that were invited to my dinner and was just disappointed that they traded what I wanted for my birthday for this. They left me stranded and humiliated at a restaurant for hours. I left the surprise party after 5 minutes and just told my mom to keep her present to herself. Am I the asshole for not seeing a good intention here? Am I overreacting? You are not the jerk. They completely disregarded what you wanted for your birthday and left you feeling ignored and unwanted. You plan a surprise party when the guest of honor doesn't have anything else planned, not by making them feel abandoned. Their intentions don't matter because what they actually did was completely cruel. Am I the jerk for finally snapping over forgotten Father's Day plans and defrosted fish? My father, who is 59 years old, is almost 60, and he keeps accusing me of things that did not happen to the extent that I started documenting these events, because I felt like I was going insane and that I was the one who had memory problems. This has happened over 100 times in the past 4 years, possibly longer. I made an omakase reservation at a very nice restaurant for Father's Day, and I sent it to him and he confirmed. The next day he said he needed to keep that slot open in case someone else needed to see him and asked me if I could cancel it. So I canceled it. 2 days before Father's Day, he goes, "Okay, so our plan for Father's Day is the Father's Day dinner." I said, "No, it's no longer reserved because you told me to cancel it." We got into a big fight with lots of yelling because I am so angry all the time because this happens every single day that I am gaslit. I ended with saying, "Why on earth would I cancel a Father's Day reservation for no reason? I have no motive to just randomly cancel it myself." The most recent event was 1 hour ago. We bought Korean mackerel from Costco, which needs to be kept frozen, and he took it out 4 days ago and defrosted it. I said, "Why is this being defrosted? It needs to be cooked from frozen." He said he didn't know and to keep 2 out because he's going to eat them later. This already makes no sense because they have to be cooked from frozen, but I'm not going to argue. 4 days later, 1 hour ago, he finds the 2 not frozen but refrigerated fish and blames me for them not being frozen. He was trying to educate me as if I was not the one who told him it had to be cooked from frozen. I yelled my head off and slammed the door, which he did not take a liking to. But I am just so fed up with his terrible memory, which he refuses to acknowledge because he likes to pretend that he is not getting older. He is, and memory failure is a part of that. I don't have any empathy left after years and years of this. It's like I'm going insane. Obviously, I could have handled it better, but it's like being lied to every single day of your life for years. It adds up and is mentally exhausting. So am I the asshole for blowing up and expressing my anger in this way? Your father might be suffering from some kind of early onset dementia or another memory disorder. It can be hard to see more than just the standard annoying dad stuff when you're the child, but this could really be a shift into a medical issue. It might be worth picking some key examples and having a heart-to-heart when things are calm, suggesting he consider seeing a doctor to get checked out. Unfortunately, he may put up a struggle against that, but it would explain a lot. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.